Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to the Tuesday, November 1st Town Council meeting. Krista, could you call the roll?
Yes, sir. Mr. Brown?
Here.
Mr. Harkins?
Here.
Mr. Ames?
Here.
Mrs. Becker?
Excused.
Mr. Lennox?
Here.
Mr. Stanford?
Here.
Mr. Brown?
I am here.
Thank you. And Mayor McCann?
Here.
Present, present, sir.
Are we in compliance with freedom of information?
Yes, sir, we are.
Thank you very much. Mr. Orlando, do we need an executive session?
Yes, sir. Afternoon, Mayor, Council. We do, as represented on our agenda, item 4A, B, and C pertaining to FOIA Act 30-470A1 and 70A2, again, as represented on our agenda.
Make a
Mr.
motion.
Mayor, I move that we go into executive session for the reasons set forth by the town manager.
Second.
All in favor, please raise the right hand. We're now going into executive session. Thank you.
I'm Joe Bogus, and I'm a volunteer with the Beaufort County.
I'm Natalie Hefter, and this is your Beaufort County Moment. In the 1930s, Honeyhorn on Hilton Head Island was owned by two men from New York, Alfred Loomis and Landon Thorne. They entertained hunters and enjoyed their visits to Hilton Head. But while they were not here, Alfred Loomis had a laboratory at his home in Tuxedo Park, New York. There he entertained some of the nation's best scientific minds. He was involved with the invention of Loran radar system and funded many scientific projects during World War II. His cousin was Secretary of War Henry Stimson, so he was very involved in many of the projects during the war. It's hard to imagine sleepy little Hilton Head Island, full of its rattlesnakes, having host to Alfred Loomis and some of his scientific minds, but they did enjoy their visits to Hilton Head Island. I'm Natalie Hefter, and this has been your Beaufort County Moment.
To see more Beaufort County moments, go to the Beaufort County Library homepage and click on the Local History tab.
Welcome, everybody. My name is John Rembold, and I'm the airport director here at Hilton Head Island Airport. And I am super excited on both a professional level and a personal level to be here to do what we're doing today. Quick story about just me and my family. We live in the north part of the county, and we often do kind of a staycation up there up around Fripp Island. So I am very familiar with the blue shirts. We've been out there many times with the Fripp Island Patrol. I've seen a nest boil, which is awesome, and we've been on countless turtle inventories in the evenings and that. And the one event I've not seen a mama lay. So I cannot wait for that someday. My children could be here to tell the story about what you do and don't do on the beach. They know how to fill in the holes. They know how to take all the stuff off the beach when the day's done, so they could deliver the classes for you guys. So when Mira came and said, hey, we want to put a turtle in the airport, I said, bring it on. And David Ames brought the subject up as well from the town. And I said, there's no better thing to put in the Hilton Head Island Airport terminal than a turtle. So we're very enthusiastic to unveil this today. Very glad that you're all here. And we want to welcome our town councilwoman here, Ms. Becker. Thank you for being here. And do we have any other elected officials in here that we need to recognize? We have the masks on, so this whole disguise thing kind of throws me off sometimes. But thank you all for gathering. We do have Amber Kewen here too, and I'd like to have her come up and say a few words about the program and just tell us about the exhibit. And then I think Mira's going to say some words too. So, okay. Amber, it's all yours. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Well, this is exciting. Whenever anyone says to me, Amber, that's just not going to happen, or Amber, that can't be done, that's when I make it happen. Because I like a challenge. But these statues are part of a series that a lot of towns do for like cows around town or oysters around town, and I just order one. So when I call them in Chicago and ask for one instead of 100, they're like, oh, it's Amber in Hilton Head. So we'll get one every year. This one is our second one in the series, and it is for our Lights Out campaign, which we started really highlighting in 2020. So we have our lighting ordinance that just got revised. Yes. Yay! Thank you, Town Council. It's up to date, but Myrtle, my mask is fine, it represents a turtle that's actually a turtle that we track with DNA. And she's been recognized by the scientists at University of Georgia because she is a super mom, which means that she has daughters that are nesting, which means her daughters are 30, she has to be at least 60, and she's probably older than that. She lays up to 8 nests in a season, which is more than we have ever recorded on any other turtle on our beach. She only nests on Hilton Head, and she nests every other year, which is incredible. Usually it's a 2-year break. So Myrtle is an exceptional female turtle that comes to Hilton Head. She's a traveler. She travels all over, and we just want to recognize her as a traveler here in the airport. We want the tourists to come in and see her immediately and know that they're here to see turtles possibly on the beach. And then we'll give them the message on our website, the QR code, to let them know what they can do to help with that impact on the turtles. Okay, so thank you for all coming. This is my staff over here in the blue shirts. They go out on the beach at 5 o'clock every morning, starting May 1st. So far, nothing. We expect a nest any day now. There's one in the state of South Carolina in Seabrook Island. So we're hoping for the second. And we'll look forward to reporting at least 300 nests at the end of the season. Thank you guys so much for coming.
Hi, I'm Mira Scott. I'm the artist who has painted this sculpture. I'm currently working on number 3, and I've got the help of the children at St. Francis School, which is just down the street a little bit. But I also wanted to make a point of recognizing Renee Hushauer, who had volunteered material, and I can't even imagine how many hours to build this vintage travel trunk. The components are antique brass, 50-year-old leather off of upholstery, old upholstery out of Chicago, and a lot of love. And if you look closely at this particular travel trunk, you'll see that the stickers that she's accumulated are from all of her travels, from here down through the Caribbean, up the coast a little bit, over to the Azores. So she kind of shares her little travel ventures with you. So it's rather appropriate that she be on a travel trunk in the Hilton Head Island Airport, and we're thrilled to have her here and focus. You know, it's a nice welcome for people, but it's also a huge educational component, which is critical with the volume of people that come to Hilton Head. As all you volunteers know, it is so difficult to get the word out to every single visitor that's only here for maybe 7 days. And hopefully with this type of product out there in the community and the QR codes and the signs, the word will get out and our superstar will be world-renowned. Thank you.
I'm Joe Bogus, and I'm a volunteer with the Beaufort County Library System. For the past 7 years, I've been a board member, and most recently, a finance chair for the county library system. This has been a very rewarding and enriching experience, especially since I began my board term during the height of the Great Recession, when we had very few books and very few visitors. But over time, the board and library leadership have managed to rebuild our finance so that we're spending more on materials now than ever before, and in a greater variety, both hard copy and digital. Growth in Beaufort County means that we have to carefully husband our resources, and this is where volunteers in the library part do make a big difference. Susan and I have been here for 18 years, and we know the positive impact libraries can make in our community. Today's library is a new town hall full of vibrant mixture of programs and offerings. As a board member, I know firsthand the impact that we can make and how important it is to have people spend their time and talents on making Beaufort County a better place. This is our home, and this is why I make this investment in both my time and in my community. This very briefly is why I serve, why I'm asking you to consider spending your time also for the Beaufort County Library. Thank you.
To see a listing of Beaufort County's agencies, boards, and commissions, or to fill out an application, visit www.beaufortcountysc.gov/boards and commissions.
This is Natalie Hefter, and this is your Beaufort County Moment. Starting in the 1740s, indigo was introduced to the Carolinas. Eliza Lucas and Andre DeVoe are credited with bringing the process to fruition here in South Carolina. While it wasn't introduced in Beaufort County until the 1750s, by then it had already expanded to be one of South Carolina's most important exports. In the late 1740s, England passed a bounty on Carolina indigo, which greatly increased production here. The processing of indigo involved a long several days of fermenting the plant in vats of urine and water. Once that had happened, then the dye was left out of the solution to dry, packaged up in barrels, and shipped to England. By 1775, over 1 million pounds of indigo was exported from the Carolinas. By 1802, however, there was no longer an export for indigo, as most planters had turned their eyes towards Sea Island cotton. This is Natalie Hefter from the Coastal Discovery Museum, and this has been your Beaufort County Moment.
To see more Beaufort County moments, go to the Beaufort County Library homepage and click on the Local History tab.
I'm Emery Campbell, and this is Beaufort County Moments. I want to talk a little bit about food today. The food has been a great part of our life in terms of gathering food and preparing them. Our food is based on the land and the sea. The land food has always been rice. We don't feel we have eaten dinner unless we've had rice. Rice was mixed with various items from the sea, like oysters or shrimp. And when they're cooked with rice in one pot, we call it a rice or shrimp or an oyster perlo. And then we have the watermelons and the sweet potatoes. Sweet potatoes was always eaten with fish. And fresh fish with gravy and a sweet potato, there is nothing better. Okra has always been a very important part of our foodways. We raise them as well as we prepare them with shrimp and tomatoes. And some people would call that a gumbo. And that's exactly what it is, okra gumbo. And so enjoy the food of the Low Country because it's been very much a part of our history. This is Emery Campbell. This has been your Beaufort County Moment.
To see more Beaufort County moments, go to the Beaufort County Library homepage and click on the Local History tab.
The Earth is a very special place. Not only is it our home, but it's the only planet that scientists know of where life exists. The diversity of life on Earth is amazing, from microscopic algae to cypress trees, from protozoans to worms to eagles, mushrooms, and bacteria. The keys to life on Earth are the climate and the presence of liquid water, along with the right organic compounds. Earth is not too hot, not too cold. Its distance from the sun and atmosphere keep temperatures moderate, allowing water to remain liquid, which is essential for cellular processes that support life to take place. Radiometric dating indicates that the Earth is somewhere around 4.5 billion years old. It's constantly undergoing large-scale changes due to the effects of plate tectonics. It takes just over 365 days for the Earth to make one revolution around the sun, and it takes 24 hours for the Earth to rotate once. The Earth's axis is also tilted at 23 degrees, which causes seasonal variation in weather. People have long wondered if there's life beyond our own planet. Our search for life beyond Earth first requires scientists to find other stars that have planets revolving around them. These are called exoplanets. In most cases, these planets are very difficult to find and see, so scientists look for evidence that there is a planet present without ever seeing the planet itself. One way to do that is to look for stars that are rotating in a way that indicate they have a planet revolving around them. Let's take this example. This is a star that's rotating without a planet. Compare that to this star that's rotating with a planet. You can see it's moving very differently. It wobbles. Another method is called the transit method. This requires the parent star, the exoplanet, and the Earth to line up just right. As the exoplanet rotates in front of the parent star, the light will dim just slightly. Scientists can look for this slight dimming. The easiest planets to find are the largest, and so far most of the planets discovered are large Jupiter-like planets that do not have the right conditions for supporting life. Scientists are looking for planets in the habitable zone, also known as the Goldilocks zone. What is the habitable zone? It depends on the size and temperature of the star, but it's the region around a star where it's not too hot, not too cold, so that water remains in a liquid state. NASA's Kepler mission is designed specifically to search our region of the galaxy for Earth-like planets using a very powerful telescope that's focused on space at a small area within the summer triangle. Already, thousands of planets have been discovered. Only a handful, however, have the right conditions to potentially host life. Going forward, scientists must study these planets in more detail, looking at speed of rotation, atmospheric conditions, and whether there's any liquid water present. The Earth is a unique planet among many, many other planets that we're only just beginning to discover. The conditions here on Earth have led to the existence of a diversity of life that is just amazing. Next time you're outside enjoying our living planet, take a moment to think about how the place we live really may be one in a million.
Everybody, please be seated. Everybody, please be seated. Would you please join us in the Pledge of Allegiance?
Diagram will update as soon as I have.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Pastor Greg will do the invocation today. The pastor's been with us since I first became mayor, and I appreciate his friendship and I appreciate his guidance. Pastor.
And Mayor, I appreciate you and the town council for all your hard work, and I know some of you are staying and some of you are not. I understand the not. I just retired. But I still work, as you can see.
Congratulations.
Yes, thank you. It's a blessing to be here, and you're a blessing to all of us for your service. Let's pray. Lord God, we praise you and thank you for the gift of this day. We thank you for our mayor and the town council. Lord, thank you for their hard work through the years, and Lord, as our mayor prepares to retire again, that you would bless him and his next life, his new life, and keep him in your care and continue to use him. Thank you for the town council, for those that remain, and for the hard work they need to do with the housing challenge and the roads and bridges and the infrastructure. Continue to bless them and give them wisdom. Thank you for all in this room who seek to improve this community, though we may have different ideas. We can all work together to seek your good, especially since there's so many challenges in our country, in our world, even in our community, that you would give us a way to seek to help others, to seek to serve you and others, and to be a blessing amidst the challenges and controversies and questions. Lord, I pray this day that you would give wisdom and discernment to this town council, to those present. Lord, that you would help us in all that we do, to seek first to love you and to love others. And Lord, to be a blessing as we are so blessed here. Lord, I pray especially this day also for this meeting, that you would anoint it, that you would bless it, that it would have a sense of peace and grace as we deal with sometimes controversial, sometimes challenging, but always the questions and challenges of life and living in community together. Bless this day, bless this meeting. Bless John as he retires and bless the town council. And I pray this in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen. Thank you very much. I'm retiring, you know. Okay, approval of the minutes.
So moved.
Second.
Any questions or change of members of the council? All in favor, please raise their right hand. Thank you very much. Report of the town manager.
Yes, sir. Mayor, council, members of the community, just one item. I know we've got a big agenda, but just an item of interest, flood mitigation assistance grants. So for more information, and I'll say that a couple times, please contact our senior grants administrator, Marcy Benson. But FEMA, the Federal Emergency Management Agency, and the South Carolina Department of Natural Resources announced the application period for flood mitigation assistance grants. It opened on September 30th. It closes on December 1st, so that's an important date. The program makes available funds to reduce or eliminate risk of flooding, repetitive flooding, that's a key word, repetitive flooding, to buildings insured under the National Flood Insurance Program. Applications must be for either a repetitive loss, or severe repetitive loss of structure. So process. Individual property owners must apply for funding through the town, and then the town submits these applications to the South Carolina Department of Natural Resources and FEMA for review and consideration. I know that we've had some success with that in the past. I know that there are flood-prone properties on our island. I think that this is a brilliant opportunity for the community member, the resident, and the town and the federal government to come together and help solve some of these site-specific and watershed-specific issues. So Marcy Benson, phone number 843-341-4689. Marcy B, M-A-R-C-Y-B, at hiltonheadislandsc.gov. December 1, big deadline. Thank you. That's all I have.
Good, thank you. Reports by members of the town council. Any general reports? Okay, public safety, Mr. Hawkins?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. We had in our last meeting an excellent presentation on the beach renourishment program. Jeff Bacalo and the consultants, the Olson Group, provided a historical review focusing on recognition of a problem years ago, intervention with foresight in terms of the science of beach renourishment, and emphasis on funding source that can be recurring for years to come. And I think we were so impressed with the presentation and the educational nature of it that we would respectfully recommend that this be shared with new members certainly coming on town council, existing members that didn't have a chance to participate in this session, and also in terms of general education for the public, certainly create some opportunities in the school system. So it's something really worthwhile, and what we're doing here is recognized as the leadership model really for the whole country. And it's something we don't talk about that much, but we've learned from it. Let's share it. Thank you.
Thank you, Bill. Public planning, Mr. Ames?
Mr. Lennox chaired the meeting in my absence and will give the report.
I was the pinch hitter for Mr. Ames. We had a public planning committee meeting on Thursday, October 27th, with 4 agenda items. The first was an update on the short-term rental ordinance. The second was items related to the strategic plan for Hilton Head Island resiliency. The third was items related to the strategic plan for Hilton Head Island solid waste and recycling. And the fourth was the consideration of a resolution which Town Council will see pertaining to improvements to the solid waste and recycling facilities on the island.
Thank you. Mr. Lennox, while you're here, the Finance Committee?
No report.
Excellent, Mr. Lennox. Krista, appearance by citizens?
Yes, sir. Our first citizen signed up to speak is Rabbi Bloom.
As a clergy person, I'm not sure I can do this in 3 minutes. Okay, I'll try my best. Mayor McCann, members of the Town Council, I'm here today to talk about the legislation you're about to vote on with regard to housing. Whether we are in the pulpit or serving the public as elected representatives, when do we know that we're really making a difference in people's lives? When do we look back at the need that has been calling to us to action and finally say, enough, it's time to do the right thing? I think that today is that day. Now you have a chance today to make a big difference, to prove to our citizens first and foremost that Hilton Head is a place that cares about its citizens and its workers who provide us with the services that we should not take for granted. That Hilton Head, besides being the dream place in the Eden that for most of us who have worked a lifetime to come here and retire here and live out our dream, that we aspire to for all our careers, that Hilton Head is a place that cherishes and respects the diversity of people who yearn for a living, who work hard, and who are appreciated here. Today is the beginning of that day. It is a day of symbolic importance and real substantive legislative action that demonstrates that we walk the walk and we talk just like we talk the talk, and I know about that. As we quote scriptures, City Council, which is, you shall love thy neighbor as thyself. That seems to me to be a piece that unites all of us, no matter who we are. And I want to quote from Isaiah chapter 65, and I want you to listen to this because I think it relates to this issue. Isaiah said, they shall build houses and inhabit them. They shall plant vineyards and eat their fruit. They shall not build and another inhabit. They shall not plant and another eat. For like the days of a tree shall the days of my people be, and my chosen shall long enjoy the work of their hands. These workers who beautify our lawns, teach our children, repair our businesses, man our fire trucks, our ambulances, police our streets and homes, take care of our sick and our senior citizens, work hard for us, and help us enjoy our lives. Now it's our turn to let them build their own habitation, plant their own garden, enjoy the work of their hands for their families and for their future. The question is, Town Council, are you going to give them a hand up? That's the question for you. We listen to the rhetoric that providing a public-private partnership for workforce housing.
Go ahead.
Keep going?
Oh, go ahead.
Thank you. Is a handout. Nothing could be farther from the truth. This is a hands-up vote, not a handout piece of legislation. It's a piece of legislation and a vote that says to the working people of this town, you matter. Do they? That's up to you. We as clergy, and you heard it from my distinguished colleague in his beautiful invocation, are here today, and we represent a spectrum of faith traditions which see the moral imperative clearly. As one of the sheriff office's police chaplains, which I do as a volunteer, I took a ride along and visited all the neighborhoods in Hilton Head, like Chimney Cove recently. I saw how workers live, and I asked this question: can we do better? I respectfully ask you to ask that question too. Can we do better? Many of the working poor and others in the middle class is what this is about. This is the beginning of a long process of investing in human resources that help make Hilton Head the leading place for people to visit and live here. This is our chance to give these folks some skin in the game of life. Helping to provide housing is similar to, I think, what Volunteers in Medicine does. I hear you.
You hear me?
So I'm going to say this. Make it happen. Vote for this. And when you go home tonight, look in the mirror at yourself and say, I did the right thing. God bless you all. Thank you.
Thank you.
Bill Post, Mr. Post.
Mayor, council people, my subject today is the police fee. As I understand it, back in November of 19, you all decided not to pay the $3.6 million to the county government for police protection. It was because we were paying double as citizens. We were paying in our property taxes, and then we were paying the $3.6 million. I agree with that. That was a good move. Then along came July 20, and the county government decided to impose this police fee, $4.4 million. Then we came along in September 20. At least the newspaper said that you all filed a lawsuit. Don't know whether you did, never heard any more about it. Now we're in a situation 2 years forward where we're paying 3 times now, not twice. And the lawsuit, I don't know. So I have 3 questions. The first one is, what's the status of the lawsuit? Did it ever happen? What's going on? The second one is, what are you going to do about us paying 3 times for police protection? Seems a bit ridiculous to me. And lastly, the $3.6 million you didn't pay, you haven't paid for 3 years, where did the money go? Where is it? Those are my questions.
Well, we have filed a lawsuit. We expect the case to be on the calendar in late January, and some of the money is being reserved, yes.
Okay, that's it?
That's the 3 questions, yes, sir.
Thank you very much.
Kristen?
Skip Hoagland, please. Mr. Hoagland.
Skip Hoagland, South Carolina Watchdog.com. I'm here today to identify the crooked insiders who have controlled by the chamber leaders. Their purpose is to continue controlling our town and our county and keep robbing millions of tax funds that go directly into their pockets. Lawyers Coltrane, Gruber, Alford, and Finger drafted the fraudulent chamber contract with Lennox and Ames and Orlando involved. Emails from the town servers we captured confirm this. John Troyer's phony town audits, first with Steve Riley and now with shyster Mark Orlando, to continue hiding their illegal use of millions as well as refuse a forensic audit of our books. Alex Brown and David Ames' endorsement of Kim Likens, who I have outright called a criminal, and he should have been arrested for taking $200,000 of our tax money to pay for her private lawsuit. She then squeezed my insurance company for a reported $400,000 to pay back her lawyers and town. The question remains, how much of the $400,000 went in her pocket? Alan Perry and ATAX Committee Steve Arnold are both chamber members and friends with Bill Miles. Big surprise. Both want the chamber to keep being funded without any accounting. They're both crooks, and that includes Ames and most of you on this council, and Alex of recent, which it's disgraceful, Alex. I'm so sad for you. Even the entire council and chamber-controlled ATAX committee allowed the illegal use of tax funds to pay memberships in the chamber. You're all members of the chamber, and not with your own money, including the crooketeers Orlando, Gruber, and Riley, who spearheaded this. You all should be ashamed of yourselves. Glenn Stanford, Carlton Dallas schemed with the town to cover the chamber, hiding millions of tax funds. Both refused to tell us who picked them to serve and run the secret Greater Island Council. These people could not be any more crooked. Peter Christian, however you pronounce his name, manager of the Hilton Head Plantation, should be fired by the HOA, among other things, falsely implying mayoral candidate Joanne Orshak sent an improper mailer to the plantation residents, while forgetting to mention he is a big supporter of his opponent, Alan Perry, and even hosted a campaign with him in Hilton Head Plantation's clubhouse that he controls. The guy should be removed. Harkins, Lennox, and McCann, you all committed criminal fraud with Bill Miles and the chamber CPAs Ray Deal and Ray Warco with Webster Rogers when you claimed you saw the chamber books. You did not see any books, any accounting. You just saw what Bill Miles and the chamber asked you to see and then come back and tell us all they were honest. You could not be any more crooked, including your first-class plane ticket to Italy. I can't wait to get you out of here. I have emails involving Likens, Salka, Harkins, and Bill Miles. I captured these off the town server that show they were coordinating lawsuits against me to silence my First Amendment voice, and then specifically cite the Likens lawsuit and the Salkins lawsuit. Well, I'm suing all these people. I'm going to continue because you gave the last man time, and I'm going to get time. You're going to give one, you're going to give all.
And keep talking.
I'm almost finished, but I'm going to continue. Thank you. The town of Hilton Head has and will be sued for their illegal use of tax funds for private purposes, for procurement violations, FOIA violations, the $200,000 issued to Kim Likens, the illegal use of tax funds to join chambers, the issuance of millions of funds to Bill Miles and his $500,000 salary and his $2 million house that we're paying for. Millions taken to Canada to develop the DMO website that Bill Miles claims he owns and is robbing us blind. And now I have filed a procurement lawsuit against you, and I filed another lawsuit against you recently for issuing $2 million to Sea Pines Plantation to dredge Harbortown. That's the HOA. The homeowners should pay for that, not taxpayers. You people keep robbing us blind, and you're going to get sued, and you're going to stop, and we're going to replace all of you with honest people.
Kristen?
Martin Lesh, please. Mr. Lesh?
Members of Council and Mayor McCann, I'm here regarding an agenda item on today's agenda, specifically item A under new business, consideration of a resolution of the Town of Hilton Head calling on the South Carolina legislative delegation to amend the South Carolina Code of Laws to approve the use of accommodations and hospitality taxes for workforce housing purposes. This resolution holds broad implications for arts funding, not only in our town, but across the state. Thousands of jobs are dependent upon organizations that could be adversely affected. I'm urging you to pull this item from the agenda until a dialogue can be carried on with stakeholders who were never notified of this resolution in advance. Competition for these scarce funds could change dramatically if this plan is successful. Without specific changes, this could be a huge obstacle for many organizations, not just here, but throughout the state. I'll give you an example of a change that makes sense, and that would be changing the DMO allocation or eliminating it altogether. If you're looking for more freedom in how ATAX money is spent, that makes sense. I know this is a hard sell on the state level, we all know that, but Tom is pretty effective if you give him that direction. There should be a public stakeholder input about the implications of this idea before asking our delegation to pursue it. Hilton Head's lack of commitment to find proper funding solutions for the housing issue could end up negatively affecting its workforce and culture, and likewise similarly impact the rest of the state. Thank you.
Thank you. Krista?
Risa Prince, please. Ms. Prince.
Good afternoon. I'm here today on behalf of the Coalition of Island Neighbors. I've got a few cautionary comments about the resolution for funding housing programs that's on today's agenda. First of all, we're grateful that you're exploring multiple funding sources. Neither our businesses nor our local taxpayers should take this on alone. In addition to the sources identified in your resolution, please consider changes to business license fees and short-term rental licenses. COIN supports your ask to increase the state housing tax credits appropriation, although we recognize that it may be more than $40 million that's needed for all the needs across the state. As far as A-tax and H-tax repurposing goes, we urge you to carefully consider the unintended consequences of this resolution. Without increasing the total A-tax and H-tax rates, advocating to redirect existing funds towards housing will increase competition for those dollars. Locally, that means that our nonprofits will likely get reduced allocations. So which one of these applicants are you willing to defund? Hilton Head Symphony Orchestra, Arts Center of Coastal Carolina, the Boys and Girls Club, Island Rec, Low Country Golf Course owners, Hilton Head Wine and Food, Coastal Discovery Museum, Arts League, Choral Society, Dance Theater, the list goes on, and you know all those applicants as well as I do. As the need for housing funding is being explored, you should advocate for all potential sources. To avoid harming any local organizations, please amend this resolution to include an increase in the overall A-tax and H-tax rates and to restructure the mandatory allocation to the DMO. Thank you.
Krista?
Sandy West. Ms. West, please.
Good afternoon, Mr. Mayor, Mr. Orlando, and Town Council members. Thank you for the opportunity to speak to you again today. I appreciate the efforts that you have made to prepare this workforce housing framework, which we will hear about again later. This is, however, not the first such study to be authorized and adopted. Please take the next critical step today. Please unanimously move this forward from words to reality by approving 1/2 of the millage that Council has the authority to commit for the implementation of this plan. Then request that the new Council strongly consider implementing the second half. As I said in my comments at the last Town Council meeting, we wish workforce housing to be your #1 priority with this Council and our future Council. We have collected over 500 residents' signatures on petitions asking you to make this the #1 priority in our town. Our citizens want real action and commitment. This could be the legacy of this council, taking positive actions to make affordable workforce housing available. I certainly hope that it will be your legacy. Thank you.
Krista?
Galen Miller, please.
Hello, everyone. Hi, Mayor. Hi, Town Council.
My name is Galen Miller. I'm the chairperson for the Hilton Head MLK Committee for Justice. Thank you for giving me your time to speak today. Each year, in honor of Dr. King, at our annual planning event we held around his birthday, we march on 278. We have events in the school where we have speeches, we have songs, we have service awards, we have prayer, and we have community lunch services together. We get full support from the town, we get full support from the fire department, we get full support from the sheriff's office, the school, and local businesses. But to this day, we have nothing on the island that formally serves or honors Dr. King in any shape or form, whether it's a sign, a plaque, a bench with his name on it, a park named after him. So I'm here today to ask the council to approve an area in the Mid-Island Park, something to honor Dr. King and his memories in our community, something that we all can work together, town council, the town, members of the community, to create something in honor of Dr. King. But not just for us. This gives us an opportunity to be more diverse. It gets us to work together continually like you're doing today with our cultural and our historical pieces on the island. So that's my plea. Perhaps a place where we might begin on the beginning and ending of our MLK March. We can start there, we can begin there. Plans of a location where we can have events we can hold there. Might this take a small statue or plaque or bridge or just even a bench, something with his name in is what I'm pleading today. This area can feature leaders of the community as well. As you all know, we have leaders in this community who are doing great things. We can have that area to recognize those individuals as well. Maybe this site can be a historical map for visitors to come on the Hilton Head and see. These are just a few of my ideas that I was thinking, but we can work towards that once we possibly get a vote on this. I ask you, how can we continue to build a beloved community where we all stand, work together in equal socially, and more importantly, love for the beautiful community of Hilton Head that we have? Thank you again for allowing me to speak, and I hope you vote to allow us to do this.
Thank you, sir. Krista?
Pastor Wilkins, please.
Mayor and Town Council. In our Christian scriptures, in the first letter of John, he writes, "How does God's love abide in anyone who has the world's goods and sees a brother or sister in need and yet refuses to help?" He goes on to say, "Little children, let us love not in word or speech, but in deed and truth." We're coming together today to make our words into deeds. I want to take the time to remind you of how far we've come in this journey in such a short time. Just since August 12th, 3 months ago, when the people in 52 units of Chimney Cove received word that they were going to be evicted from their homes in 30 days. On August 12th, we found ourselves basically unprepared for the eventual departure of 300 people from beside us, from our island, and from our workforce. I was fit to be tied. Many people were outraged. We were all frustrated, and the people of Chimney Cove were scared. Our friends from Deepwell, Low Country Immigration, Volunteers in Medicine, Boys and Girls Club, Consumer Credit Counseling, Low Country Legal Volunteers, and other nonprofit services organizations joined together at Christ Lutheran Church to help these Hilton Head citizens find some options. We gave them all the help that we could give them, but what we couldn't give them was any housing that they could afford in our area. They were going to be, in essence, evicted from Hilton Head and the area. We have come a long way since August. When we started, we were not all unanimous as to how important it was to tackle the issue of affordable housing or if it was possible to accomplish. But today, just 3 months later, we are in a different place. We all realize how necessary it is to deal with this problem. We all realize that we need to be creative in our solutions. We all realize that it's a necessity for us and our future. This change of heart is due to the compassion, the energy, and the people of Hilton Head, and to the people who formed the Hilton Head Home Coalition, and to you and your dedication to find workable solutions to this problem. When we met on September 6th, Mayor, you said you were not happy that this had not been done. But you all have now done something. You raised the challenge to come up with a framework by November 1st, and you have seen that through to this day. You are doing God's work here, even though it's not labeled as such on your resumes. I thank you for that. On September 6th, I ask you all not to waste the suffering of the people of Chimney Cove, and you haven't wasted it. You have used it to come to a different place in this community, but this is not done yet. By some miracle, the people of Chimney Cove got a reprieve on that eviction date, and that was supposed to happen on September 12th, and they are still with us on the island today. But their presence with us is still under great threat. And if they are asked to leave again, there are still not enough places for them to go. I asked you to commit to workforce housing plan with the funds necessary to see it through. The town is with you. Don't wait for a referendum. Be bold. Continue the great work you've started. Make these words into deeds for our brothers and sisters in need in Hilton Head. Take this beyond the framework and build it into actual affordable housing. Thank you.
Thank you.
Sandy Gillis, please. Ms. Gillis.
Thank you very much. I'm Sandy Gillis with the Deep Well Project, and you have weighty matters ahead of you today, and I thank you for your service, and I echo Reverend Kranz's hope for wisdom. I have a very small piece of information to share today, and that is an update with what is happening at Chimney Cove. We have 32 of those 52 households on file with the Deep Well Project. Only 3 of those 32 households have we been unable to continue to maintain contact with. But the update for the folks that we have been able to reach is this. 8 of the families have already moved since that August lease termination letter. 4 of those families, I am thrilled to report, did find alternative housing right here on Hilton Head. 1 of them purchased their own mobile home that they own, and then they found a great landlord with one of our native islanders who had some land available. 3 of the other families are in new apartment rentals here on the island. 2 families did find housing, unfortunately, in Bluffton, Okatee. They were both apartment rentals. And 2 families did opt to leave the area completely. 1 went back home to Wisconsin. We'll wish them well this winter. And 1 family, actually, they were here on a visa, and their visa had expired, and they've returned to the Bahamas. 2 additional families, in addition to these 8, report to us that they have found alternative housing. They just have not relocated yet. So if you do the math, that leaves the universe of families that we've been working with, 19 families who do remain at Chimney Cove and report to us that they continue to look for housing. They have just not been able to find anything yet. We do have emergency funding to help them with that relocation. They just can't find anything. 4 report that they would prefer to rent an apartment here on the island. 4 said that they are deep into the investigation process of what it takes to purchase a mobile home and then find a place for it on the island. The other 11 families just say they don't care what kind of housing they find. They just really want to stay on Hilton Head. So that's the interim report. We'll be happy to share additional reports in another 30 to 40 days. My takeaway on this is these folks do want to stay here. They've been working at it hard. We've had some successes, but there are more people still there than have been able to find places. So if we could just find a few more places for them on their island, they've demonstrated what great residents they are. Thank you for this report, and again, thank you for all the hard work you're doing. It is not easy, and it's not always popular, but it is so, so needed. Thank you.
And thank you, and thank Deep Well.
George Paletta, please. Mr. Paletta.
Good afternoon, Council, Mayor. I'm George Paletta, live in Sea Pines Plantation. I'm very happy to see that the discussion on the North Point public-private workforce housing is moving forward. I personally believe this project would take 5 years to implement to its fruition. And knowing how government works, knowing how the details and the rules have to be applied, does that mean the council will not look at any other public-private development until this development is completed and you have a platform to judge the rest or going forward? So I acknowledge all the praise, and I'm one to praise you for it as well, but let's put the realism back into this. We have yet to get a contractor or a developer. We have a long way to go. We have allegedly a number of people that have applied to build this, and yet we have no contract or bill of goods that they must provide us with. Low-cost housing is one issue, and that's for workers, and affordable housing and a workforce are two different things. I recently went to one of the biggest boondoggles Hilton Head has ever seen, Aqua Mare. Aqua Mare was supposed to be workforce housing for our workers, nurses, doctors, whatever, from the hospital, which got a big resounding thing of, oh yeah. Well, a one-bedroom is $2,000 a month plus. That's $24,000 after tax money. The two-bedroom is $36,000 after tax money. And the three-bedroom is $48,000 a year plus. The administration fee is $500, the application is $150, the garage is $250, a dog is $25 a month, plus an initial fee of $175. So that we have that boondoggle of which we were supposed to get a number of workforce housing or low-income housing. I would like to know how many units have been designated and what is the rent for those units. The other thing is that we have Chimney Cove sitting there, just sitting there right now. It's time to move on it. Move on Chimney Cove. It has to be fast-tracked, and it can be done. You have investors in this community, you have very wealthy people, you have banks, and you also have opportunity to get outside funding. We cannot wait 5 years for a template on what you want to do for the future. And I will bet $100 with any one of you, including interest, that this project will not finish in 5 years. Thank you.
Krista?
Mr. Alderman, Jack Alderman, please.
Mr. Mayor and members of council, Mr. Town Manager, thanks for the opportunity to speak with you. I'm here very briefly and simply today to say thank you. You have taken plenty of criticism over the months and years on the issue of workforce housing. Today is a day to say thank you for what you've done to get us to this point with the framework for moving ahead. At its core, this housing issue is a simple one to grasp. To be a great community, you need a great workforce. To get a great workforce, you need to find and attract capable, happy workers. To attract those capable, happy workers, you need good, safe, affordable housing for them to live in. You are getting to that point. The rationale is simple. We know the execution is difficult. There is going to be a lot of urgency that's needed to move this forward and some bold, smart thinking as we go along. But today, just thank you.
Thank you, Jack.
Carol Benton. Ms. Benton.
I'm going to pass that. I ditto to what was just said, and thank you, Sandy West, for
and Jane Joseph.
Good afternoon, Mayor McCann, members of the council, and Mr. Orlando. I'm Jane Joseph, representing the Arts Council of Hilton Head Island on behalf of Michael Marks, President of the Arts Council, who is unfortunately not in town today. First, we thank you all for putting workforce housing at the top of your priority agenda and moving quickly to address the critical components to solving the housing issues. It is of utmost importance to the entire community, and the Arts Council strongly supports your efforts regarding workforce housing. That said, I'm here today to address item A under new business from today's agenda. The item is a resolution to call on our South Carolina legislative delegation to amend the laws to approve the use of ATAX and hospitality tax for workforce housing. The town's arts and cultural organizations have not had an opportunity to have a dialogue to understand the potential impact of this resolution on their ATAX grants. Depending on how such a change is implemented, it could have a significant impact on funding for our arts and cultural community, as well as those across the state. It would be very unfortunate to put the next town council and the community in a position to have to choose between housing and arts and culture year after year by rushing into a decision that is not yet understood by its stakeholders. There should be public stakeholder input before asking our state delegation to pursue this. So we are requesting that the vote on this item be deferred. The Arts Council leadership would very much appreciate the opportunity to meet and work with town council and staff on this subject to move this forward quickly. Hopefully, there is no impact and we can move on with approval. Thank you.
Thank you.
That concludes appearance by citizens, sir.
Thank you.
Mayor,
Ms. Jung?
Yes.
Go ahead.
Thank you. Thank you. So, Krista, I'm sorry. I met the mayor in the hall and I asked him about coming forward really quickly.
Oh, okay. If you just state your
Give us your
name.
name, please.
Sure. My name is Cheryl Cave, and yeah, I'm here in reference to the Petals and Stars Entrepreneur Day pop-up market. This is to lighten the load a little bit. So you guys, I really do appreciate the opportunity, Mayor McCann, to address the council and to invite you to this event. It's an event for kids. It's fun. They're going to be out selling everything from golf balls to slime to cupcakes at the Shelter Cove Community Park. It's going to be November 20th. I do have flyers that I could leave for you guys. It is a fun event, and the third one this year. The second one that we had was on the campus of USCB Bluffton, and Mayor Solka came out, the Greater Bluffton Chamber of Commerce came out. Super fun, super fun. Kids had a great time. A lot of them, what they sold, they went back and bought from the other vendors that was there, but that's okay. They had fun. So lots of families, lots of parents get involved with it, and we really would love to see you guys there. This event will feature Rick Hubbard and Young and Restless. So he's going to be out playing some lively music so everybody can come and enjoy. So that's it.
Thank you. Just get down the Christmas joke with the mouth here. Okay?
Sure. I thank you for the time.
Thank you very much. The consent agenda for today, we have 2 items on the consent agenda. I'd like to keep them together for one vote. Is there anybody that wants them changed, separated, discussed? Anybody any? John? Is there anybody in the community that would like to make a discussion on this or comment on these 2? Having seen none, I need a motion.
Move for approval of both.
Second. All in favor, please raise the right hand. Get that, Krista?
Excuse me, sir. Could we call a roll on that,
You
please?
can, sure.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Brown?
Support.
Mr. Harkins?
Yes.
Mr. Ames?
Yes.
Mr. Lennox?
Yes.
Mr. Stanford?
Yes.
Mayor McCann?
Yes.
Motion carries, sir.
Thank you. New business item number 12. Okay. 12A, consideration and resolution of the town of Hilton Head calling on the South Carolina legislation delegation to amend the South Carolina Code of Laws to approve the use of accommodation and hospitality tax for workforce housing purposes, and to amend the South Carolina Code of Laws as to increase the amount of the South Carolina housing tax credits annually to $400 million. 40 million.
Move for approval with a correction on the amount.
Second.
Discussion by members of the council. Mr. Brown.
Yeah, starting out to correct you on that 400 million, Mr. Mayor.
Well, it's too bad you're not one of the good guys anymore. You can't.
As I read this resolution and try to think forward as to how we're going to tackle our housing needs, it's going to take a diverse means of revenues to help us, okay? We're talking about doing something internally with potentially bonding out some money. I've heard business license fees potentially being increased. A good Senator Tom Davis has asked us to help him make the request at the state level. And I'm hearing out loud the concerns about potentially some unintended consequences here. But I think this opens the door for us to have a dialogue. I think that the demand for the amounts of funding that we will need to accomplish this goal may increase our A-tax or H-tax from a percentage level. We don't know the answer to that yet. And I'm going to trust us as a council and our town manager that when the time comes that we start to be able to use A-tax monies in a different manner, that we're not going to look to deplenish the activities that come from our nonprofits. I think that's important to our economy. It's important to the way that our community operates. So robbing Peter to pay Paul is not the intent here as the way I read it, okay? But I want to make sure that the public is having some confidence that we are now opening the door for a dialogue with our state delegation to change it. It needs to be changed. With that being said, we've got another item on here today around housing that I think we can talk a little bit more intimately about what we can control as far as funding is concerned without having going to the state level. So those are my comments. I am going to be supporting this because I think we need to move expeditiously on everything when it comes to funding this enormous problem that we have here on Hilton Head.
Mr. Gunn?
Thank you. We have identified workforce housing as a top priority here on this island. We're also working to generate as many different sources of revenue to fund this issue that we can possibly find. This is not an allocation of funds to workforce housing. This is merely asking the legislature to alter the laws so that this could be considered. When we get around to time to consideration of that, we will certainly be listening to everyone. We're not taking a dime away from anyone here. We are trying to find another revenue source, and I too will be supporting this resolution.
Bill?
Yeah. Clearly, as you look at the numbers, and I think maybe a lot of people in the public haven't had that opportunity, this is clearly not a situation where we're robbing from Peter to pay Paul. The arts are very important to this community. There are a lot of things that are very important, and it's not the intent to diminish support for one in favor of another.
Dave?
The challenge for workforce housing is directly related to the number of people who visit the island. And that direct correlation is one reason why it makes sense, at least to me, why accommodations tax and to somewhat of a lesser degree hospitality tax is a part of solving the revenue side of the workforce housing challenge. Tourists pay that money into our economy, and I think it makes eminent sense for them to contribute to solving the workforce housing problem through those revenues. Thank you.
Thomas?
Thank you. I want to point out to those concerned about the grant funding for arts and culture that this proposed legislation does not use the word redirect. We are expanding the uses of these tax revenues. The entire source of hospitality tax and accommodations tax over the past 3 years has grown disproportionately to the uses. And in my judgment, this makes a lot of sense in expanding, not redirecting, our ability to use these expanding sources of revenue. I too will support this, and I think you as a public have to hold us accountable for establishing the right priorities in uses of these funds, and hopefully one of the uses will include affordable housing going forward. Thank you.
Comments by members of the community? Mr. Hoagland?
We all know housing is important. Workforce housing is important. We all know that there's never been an audit on any of the aid tax monies or the hospitality tax monies. We all know that the aid tax monies are distributed to nonprofits illegally. We all know that they're distributed to the Chamber of Commerce and Bill Miles without any audit or any idea of where this money is going. We know that $1 million has been taken to Canada of aid tax funds. We know it's illegally used. We know it's illegally issued. So what I'm calling for is a defunding of the $3 or $4 million of Bill Miles and the Chamber. We don't need it anymore. Technology creates the tourism that we have here for free. It's a new world. The DMO model is an old failed business model. It doesn't work. We don't need it. Facebook does it for free. So get rid of this. Let the chamber go back to just being a chamber, representing plumbers, electricians, beauty salons. A chamber's not supposed to be involved in any of this. Get rid of it. Take the money and let's put all that money to the workforce housing and things that make sense. You know, we have, what's the population now? 50, 60,000 permanent population? I don't know. We got 3 million tourists coming here. We got one road all the way down 95. We got enough. We got enough. And all this workforce housing, it's been created because it's overdevelopment. We've just gone too far. We've allowed too much. But we're in it now. We can't get out. We can't go back. So we got to look forward. So yes, we need that. We need a lot of things. But let's defund Bill Miles. I guarantee you, I will put $50,000 of my money on the line if the same amount of tourists is not created, making Bill Miles go back to running a chamber and getting rid of the DMO and putting those tax monies to the benefit of all of us. You'll never notice a difference. It'll never change. Think about it. And if you don't know about technology, you don't need to be sitting up there.
Next.
Good afternoon, gentlemen. I see that the lady is missing. My name is Mary Eminetti, and I've been a resident of Hilton Head for 23 years now. And when I came here in 2000 as a realtor, and I was asked to serve on some committees for the Association of Realtors, and they asked me to serve on two, and one was community service, and they wanted me to serve on another. And my question was, who helps poor people and low-income people? Is there a committee? And I was told there wasn't one. And I said, we should have one. And the person told me, well, if you want one, why don't you start it? So in 2000, I was the founder of the Affordable Housing Committee for the Hilton Head Area Association of Realtors. And I also worked with Joan Mustard, who at that time was the director for the Low Country CDC. And I keep hearing we've never had a CDC here, but we have. The first affordable housing project that we accomplished was at Sandy Point in Bluffton. The developer there developed affordable housing and gave a number of those, not given, but provided a number of those for low-income people. And the houses were under $100,000. Can you imagine that today? A house under $100,000 in Bluffton. So, that being said, I'm hearing talk about this resolution, and I have some questions about it, but I'm sure they can't be answered now. But have you sought any funding beyond the state? I know that HUD does fund the state when it comes to housing, and that there is money available. So that is a question that I would like to have a follow-up on. And I would like to thank you all for continuing after 20-some years to keep talking about affordable housing. And I agree with the people in this audience. That's been a long time. I have a granddaughter that came here. She's graduating from college next year, and it hasn't been settled yet. We need to do something. It doesn't have to be big. Start small. Don't eat that elephant all at once, one bite at a time. Thank you.
Peter?
Mr. Mayor, Town Manager, members of the council, Peter Christian, for the record, I'm here representing myself. I am responsible for employing over 100 people, and I've never had a full roster. And I continue to struggle as other businesses continue to struggle attracting workers to come over that bridge. There was a question at the last mayoral forum if the mayors who are on the ballot would support a $15 minimum wage. We're beyond $15. I'm offering $18 to $19 an hour to get across that bridge. You have all very eloquently stated that this resolution will only ask our delegation to implement and propose legislation at the state level. There will be adequate dialogue at that level to address all of those concerns. And I would urge you to pass this resolution. We are way behind the curve on this particular item, and we need to get ahead of it. Thank you.
Thank you. Yes, sir.
You all make very valid points speaking about changing the A-tax. However, I don't see how this makes any sense without changing the 30% to DMOs. If you really want to free up this A-tax money, that is something that has, been a restraint all along. And so, and also for other towns too, they should be able to determine how much money they want to spend on that as well. So I would urge you to make that part of this.
Thank you. Next. And no one else? Okay, back to council. Any? Just come right up here, ma'am.
Hello, Mayor McCain, Honorable Town Council. I'm Loretta Aiken. I've been here on Hilton Head since 1990. I feel that you should pass this affordable housing. First of all, this should have been approved 10 years ago. And I want to know, I see that a lot of the condos have been turned into bed and breakfasts all along Cordillo Parkway on the south end, at the Hedges and at Cordillo Courts, all the way down to Treetops condos, all the way down to the Sea Pines back gate, all around Caligny Plaza. These apartments are not affordable. Most of them, the majority, have been turned into bed and breakfasts. The rent is $1,800 a month or $2,200 a month. Who allowed this to happen? A normal person who lives here cannot get a condo, and no tourists can afford it because there's 8 or 10 of them who put their credit cards together, their money together. They have $10,000. They can easily afford these condos or a house. So I want to know what happened, who dropped the ball on this. A new person coming to Hilton Head cannot find an apartment or condo. Why? This is a Chimney Cove issue. If that did not come up, would y'all be sitting here trying to do affordable housing? It should have been done a long time ago. In the next 10 years, the rent will be $3,000 or $5,000 a month if you don't do something, and we need this affordable housing approved. I heard the lady from Deepwell say like 50 people have found places or whatever, but I thought there were 300 people being displaced from Chimney Cove. What about the rest of them? Are they still at Chimney Cove? You know, this is an important issue that should not have been put on the shelf. I know that y'all are buying up Gullah land for $3 million, $1 million, or higher. And this land is just sitting on Hilton Head empty. That could be where an affordable housing complex could be built. Why don't you take the money, the millions of dollars you're offering Gullah people to buy their land, why don't you take that money and use it for affordable housing to build? I'm dissatisfied.
Thank you. Is there anyone else? Okay, bringing it back to council. Any more discussion by members of council on this? Krista, call the roll.
Support.
Mr. Harkins?
Yes.
Mr. Ames?
Yes.
Mr. Lennox?
Yes.
Mr. Stanford?
Yes.
Mayor McCann?
Yes.
Motion carries, sir.
Thank you. 12B, consideration of a resolution of the town of Hilton Head authorizing a town to enter into an intergovernmental agreement with Beaufort County for the collection of library and transportation impact fees.
Move for approval.
Second.
Discussion by members of the council. Seeing none.
I've got a couple things, Mr. Mayor, and
thank you.
I apologize because I went back and watched the F&A meeting from July 19th when we talked about this, and I missed these points, so I want to bring them out tonight for discussion. And of course, not everybody on council was there for this conversation regardless. So the impact fees, I guess the first concern I have is as we start to get in this world of housing, okay, and you start to look at the menu of impact fees, that definitely will affect us being able to put housing on the ground, okay? So the abate process, I'm not quite clear on, all right? I need clarity on that. How do we put folks that are in a position to put affordable housing on the ground be in a position to abate those fees? That's number one. The second one, the collection of the impact fees is now the responsibility of the county before folks can get their permits from the town. And I'm not sure that the county is in a technical position to make that happen efficiently, so we're not holding stuff up on our end. That's maybe too far in the weeds, but I think it's important because Mr. Orlando has been doing a bang-up job with trying to provide better customer service for those that want to do business on Hilton Head, and we don't need an additional hurdle along the way. And the last There's talk on page 5 about representatives that will talk about the priorities of the expenditures of these impact fees. I don't know who those representatives are. If that's going to be folks that we appoint, folks from the council. So there's a few questions here that, and again, I apologize, we did not bring that up on July.
Mr. Gruber, could you go up for a while?
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, Mr. Orlando, members of council. So I understand you have 3 separate questions, so I'll try to take those in order. The first one being the relationship with workforce and affordable housing. So as the impact fee program exists today, there is currently already an exemption for qualified affordable housing developments, and it's based upon a sliding scale. So the more affordable the units, the more it qualifies for a credit. And so this intergovernmental agreement that's proposed today would not change that existing program. And my understanding is that that credit is in line with enabling legislation that was passed at the state that provides for it. And then that credit is provided by Beaufort County, since they are the ones that are providing it. So ultimately, there wouldn't be any kind of impact on the affordable housing nature as long as you've got a qualified development that would otherwise meet those criteria.
May I ask a question? May I ask a question? Process. Step 1 to step credit.
Sure. So under the intergovernmental agreement that is proposed before you today, the town would no longer be involved in the collection of the impact fees. Now, I think that does go to your third question in terms of the actual process. So what would happen is anybody who is looking to build new development, because a lot of existing development does not require an impact fee, but anybody who's looking to build new development would need to go to the county, show them what type of development they're looking for. The county would calculate the impact fees that are due. They would collect that impact fee, provide a receipt, and then the obligation for the town is to check and verify that the receipt has been provided prior to issuing a building permit. And based upon our conversations with Beaufort County, it's their intent to create an online portal that would allow that to happen. So you wouldn't require to go to physically one of the county's buildings. You would be able to go online, submit your paperwork, get a copy of your impact fees that are due, pay them, and get a receipt.
And Alex, most of the towns in the county are working under the same process.
Yeah, no, I guess where I'm going as far as our agreement is concerned, I understand it's their intent. I would like to force that by having it a part of the agreement because, I mean, I don't want folks that want to do business on Hilton Head have to travel all the way to Beaufort.
Yes, sir.
And, I mean, you show up and you've got one document less the requirement, now you got to make another trip.
Sure.
So what I'm asking council is that we firm up the direction as far as the agreement to include that that piece will be a part of it.
And if you wanted to make that an amendment to the main motion to include that as an express requirement, that is something that could be then included in the document that's sent back to Beaufort County.
I'm offering that for discussion for the council.
As the maker of the motion, I would support that.
Any other questions of what Alex said and Bill agreed to?
Let's clarify the amendment that he's asking to be made.
Sure. I'm asking that within the agreement, the collection of the fees happen in a expeditious process that includes technology and an online atmosphere, is what I'm asking.
Makes sense to me.
So it's an issue of convenience.
And I don't think it's an issue including that as an express requirement, knowing that what our previous conversations, the county's already headed in that direction.
But they're headed in that direction, but they're not there.
That is correct. I do not believe it is launched yet, and so it is something that we would need to identify a transition date as to when that would go live.
David, what do you think?
Fine. Does that answer all your questions?
So number 3, I was concerned about the representatives that are going to be making the decisions.
So I'm going to break this in half because we're dealing with 2 separate impact fees. One is library. The library, the service area for the library is exclusively Hilton Head Island. So we are only dealing with the Hilton Head branch. The CIP improvement plan that is created by the library board for that particular facility, that is the list of projects that impact fees would be eligible to be spent on. When it comes to the transportation impact fees, the town provided the county with a list of its CIP projects. And there was a spreadsheet that was included at the committee level that outlined those projects. Again, as the fees are collected, those fees would then be eligible for those projects. There is no ranking or hierarchy list of which ones comes first, second, fourth, or 10th. It is subject to available funding either in total for the project itself or as a portion to be combined with other funding that could be available. But it is limited to only those projects that are identified within that CIP spreadsheet.
So what I'm proposing to us is that the agreement calls for a report back to, I guess, this body or FNA. But the production of that conversation is what I'm concerned about. It's one thing to have the information come before us, we talk about it, and we send it back to the county, but being a part of those discussions, because it's going to be our folks that are paying into the system, okay? I'm just not 100% comfortable with that process as how the information gets back and how the priority list will be dealt with, all right? And I hear what you're saying, Josh. You only giving us what you know. I get it. But again, let's see if I can find page 5 here where I'm talking about exactly. I don't want to take up any more time, Mr. Mayor.
Does this have to be resolved today?
I wonder if we could take this back to committee as well. I'm really going, Mr. Mayor.
Certainly happy to take it back to committee. The one thing I can say was discussed in committee was part of the reason we weren't going to necessarily look at the prioritization of the projects is because Beaufort County, if you'll recall, had passed an ordinance to rescind impact fees in their entirety, absent us giving the ability to get an agreement back in place. And so that's, I think, one thing to keep in mind, that we can certainly go back and have that discussion, knowing that the county council, at least based upon their prior statements, wanted to get a resolution to this sooner rather than later, primarily because of the timing concerns. The existing impact fees have been in place for so long that they're worried about legal liability, and so they want to get new agreements in place as quickly as possible.
What's the timing to have it on their docket for discussion?
We had discussions with them, I believe, as recently as July is when this had come before committee. And so several months before that is when we had talked as a council with their body as county council in terms of the actions that they had taken to rescind the impact fee. So sometime it was early spring, I believe, is when they had acted.
They only got a couple more meetings themselves, right?
Correct.
Okay, so I'm asking we just take a little bit more time on this one, Mr. Mayor, and run it through one more time.
Yeah. I think we all want to get this done, but a few more weeks I don't think is going to be tolerable.
We'll make a motion to send it
So
back
I
to committee.
withdraw the motion.
Thank you.
Need a motion to send it back to committee. Now we need a motion to send it back to committee.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor? Any questions? Krista, call the roll on that.
Mr. Brown?
Support.
Mr. Harkins?
Yes.
Mr. Ames?
Yes.
Mr. Lennox?
Yes.
Mr. Stanford?
Yes.
Mayor McCann?
Yes.
Motion carries, sir.
A C, consideration and resolution of the town of Hilton Head approving the use of the Good Neighbor funds from the American Rescue Plan for Beaufort County towards the town's participation in the Beaufort and Jasper County Regional Housing Fund and seed funding for the Gullah Geechee Historic Neighborhoods Community Development Corporation in accordance with federal guidelines.
Move for approval.
Second. I would like to make an amendment, Mr. Chairman.
Like to make an amendment?
Yes.
Okay.
I believe that the amounts going into these two different funds should be clarified. So I would move that we approve the resolution authorizing the use of Good Neighbor funds from Beaufort County's allocation of the American Rescue Plan Act. Funding be used towards the town's first-year participation in the Beaufort-Jasper County Regional Housing Trust Fund in the amount of $156,815, and that the remaining balance of $343,185 be used as seed funding for the Gullah Geechee Historic Neighborhoods Community Development Corporation in accordance with federal guidelines.
Do we have a second on that amendment?
I'll second it.
Any discussion of the council by that amendment? Tom?
It's my understanding that Senator Davis has identified a line item in the governor's budget for seed money for Gullah Geechee CDC. Is that still open?
It's my understanding it is open.
So this is funding in addition to that $5 million?
Is that what you mean it to be?
Yes, this is what went through the Finance and Administrative Committee. All I was trying to do was to clarify the exact dollar amounts going into each of the two alternate funds. We're receiving $500,000 in Good Neighbor funds. And all I'm saying is, instead of saying it'll go partially to one fund and partially to another, that we have the dollar amount going into one and the balance going to the other. That's the sole purpose of my amendment.
In addition to the $5 million?
This doesn't make reference to the $5 million, but it would be in addition to.
And why do you want to do that?
Because we've identified, well, first of all I'm doing is clarifying the dollar amounts, Mr. Mayor. But we have certainly identified that the Regional Housing Trust Fund is a vital and important tool for the town to use to work on our workforce housing project. Secondly, we've identified the strong need for the Community Development Corporation to deal with trying to fund improvements to the Gullah historic communities here. So all I'm doing is just saying this amount's going here, this amount's going there, period.
Bill?
Yeah, I have no problem with that. If adding that specificity creates clarity, let's do it.
Thomas? Okay, that's discussion. Okay. Oh, wait a minute.
No,
In a second. Yes, David.
just call the question on the amendment.
Yeah. Oh, any more comment by members of the council? Okay. Mr. Holcomb.
Thank you. I'm all for the Gullah Geechee community. I've been here 47 years. I'm for affordable housing. I'm for a lot of things. There's a lot of things that are worthy to help. But I caution all of you, as a lawsuit that I just filed against you for the public funds used in Seapine's private gated community. You've got to be careful because state law is very specific. It says, and it's a Supreme Court ruling, and it was won by one of my current lawyers up in Greenville, that states that you cannot use public funds for private purposes that's not for the public good, reason, use, and reason. You can't just use public funds just for anything. You can't fund a lot of nonprofits because it's worthy and it's heartfelt. It's about the law and what's legal. So whatever you do, you have to remember that. Thank you very much.
Is there any other comments on this item here? Hey, Christian, will you call the roll on the amendment?
Yes, sir. Mr. Brown?
Support.
Mr. Ames?
Yes.
Mr. Harkins?
Yes.
Mr. Lennox?
Yes.
Mr. Stanford?
Yes.
Mayor McCann?
Yes.
The amendment passes, sir.
Thank you. Item D, consideration and resolution of the town of Hilton Head Island approving.
Sir,
You have to vote on the
point
amended
of,
motion.
we've got you have to vote on the motion as amended.
Okay.
Good. Yeah.
Are you?
All right, yes. If it helps, I'll make a motion on the amendment in favor.
the amended motion.
On the amended motion.
Okay, you want to vote on that now?
Yes, sir. Just to clarify, this is for the main motion as amended.
As amended. Is there a second?
Second.
Call the roll then, I guess.
Mr. Brown?
Support.
Mr. Harkins?
Yes.
Mr. Ames?
Yes.
Mr. Lennox?
Yes.
Mr. Stanford?
Yes.
Mayor McCann?
Yes.
Motion carries, sir.
The consideration and resolution of the Town of Hilton Head Island improving the workforce housing framework.
Move for approval.
Second.
Discussion by members of the council.
I'd like to amend that.
Okay.
I move that we approve the resolution adopting the workforce housing framework with a condition that the town manager identify a minimum of $1 million in recurring funds to be utilized for the implementation of the workforce housing framework and similar workforce housing objectives, commencing with the fiscal year 2023 budget year.
As the maker of the motion, I support that, and I would like the word underline to be underlined.
You like the word underlying to be underlined. You want a motion?
No, I'm just being cute.
I know you are, but you're a cute guy.
Yeah.
All right.
All right.
I think more discussion by members of the council on David's change. Alex?
Yeah, no discussion on Councilman Ames' change, but I am wanting the council to consider, this has been a topic, I don't know, early 90s, I guess, right? And it keeps bubbling up. And it's made its way, in and out of committee and that sort of thing. I'm asking that moving forward, there be a placeholder on the town council's agenda under the town manager's report for housing, okay? That keeps the ball right in front of us. Mr. Orlando's done a great job of workshopping what he needs to, but having it in front of us so that the public knows exactly what we're doing at every meeting, I think is essential to the ball continue to move forward.
As an administrator, everything will take care of that without changing the motion.
Yep.
Okay. Okay, comments from the citizens here on this item here about the resolution on the workforce housing framework amended with the $1 million a year funding. Okay, Krista, we're going to vote on the amended one now?
John, I have a comment.
You got a comment, Tom?
I think it's important to note that we are talking about $1 million with the fiscal year 2023 budget. And we are in that fiscal year currently. So we're talking about $1 million now in this budget.
Is that what you meant? Is that what you meant, David?
That is exactly what I meant.
You're asking for the town manager to find $1 million out of this year's budget?
Yes.
If that's the town manager, what do you think about that?
I'll find the funds as part of the critical next steps, as part of the housing framework in your packet and available for the community. Some of those next steps are for me to put together a annual funding plan, right? Assess revenues and put together that fund plan. I'll incorporate that $1 million this fiscal year. I have some thoughts on where I can move some funds around to accomplish that, and then bring that forward as well into the next fiscal year through the budget process.
Okay. George?
Mr. Mayor and Town Council, will the public get be able to get a review of that framework after you guys pass it?
Sure.
I mean, is that going to be put on
I think we should do
our?
it before we vote on it.
They should get a view report?
I think we should ask Missy Lewick to present an overview of the framework so that the public knows what it's included.
Yeah, right fast, George. Missy?
Thank
And
you.
it's part of the agenda, I believe, isn't it?
Yeah.
Sir, it's part of the agenda for this meeting, the entire package.
I don't think everybody has a full package that we have, though. Do they?
Yeah, it's published, sure.
Okay, then it's in here, George. It's in the package.
I'm sorry.
It's in the package.
Oh, okay.
Okay? All right.
So for clarification of the public, my understanding is that we're referring to the the pillars that are supporting the platform going forward.
That's correct, sir.
Thank you.
May I add a point of clarification?
Yes, you can.
Just for clarity, if you go to our website and click on our agenda for this evening, there are live links on all of our agenda items. The workforce housing framework being one item, if you click that link, it will bring you to that workforce housing framework plan. There are 4 goals, several strategies, and even more next steps. It's very clear in there what that packet is. But for clarity, would you like Missy to come up and give an overview? Okay.
George can read it.
All right, there we go.
Are there any other questions from the community? Comments from the community? Okay, Christian, what roll call you want to make on the first one? What bills?
We'll vote on the amendment first.
The voting
sir.
amendment first? Okay.
Mr. Brown?
Support.
Mr. Harkins?
Yes.
Mr. Ames?
Yes?
Excuse me. Mr. Lennox?
Yes.
Mr. Stanford?
Yes.
Mayor McCann?
Yes.
Amendment carries, sir. And then for the motion as amended, Mr. Brown?
Support.
Mr. Harkins?
Yes.
Mr. Ames?
Yes?
Mr. Lennox?
Yes.
Mr. Stanford?
Yes.
Mayor McCann?
Yes.
Motion carries as amended.
Mayor, excuse me.
Yes, sir.
If I may, I'm very pleased that the church community is here today. Their response to the Chimney Cove emergency galvanized this community to action. But I'd also like to thank the town manager and Missy Lewick, plus the entire staff that got involved. We had a marathon at a sprint pace for the last 65 days and produced this framework that we as a community failed to produce over the years. What is so extraordinary about this framework is that it is a comprehensive commitment to solving the workforce housing problem. Up to this point, we've been shooting at a single target. Now we're going to be shooting at 4 of them that are absolutely essential to make it work. Missy, thank you. Town manager, thank you very much.
Item E, consideration resolution for the town of Hilton Head Island approving the Mid-Island Track Master Plan.
Move for approval.
Second.
Discussion by members of the council.
Yes, sir.
Oh, there you are.
I think that there is some concern about what this means. Does it mean we are approving construction of the project starting soon? No. We are simply approving the concepts outlined in the plan by the extensive team of experts that have been there. So we know what it could look like, and then we will implement it in installments over time as funding is available and council approves.
Okay.
Thank you.
Any comments or questions by members of the committee? Mr. Hoagland.
My comment is, after living here for 47 years, why did we not develop a master land plan 40 years ago to prevent us to being in the situation that we're in with the traffic and the overdevelopment and so forth and so on, the environmental impacts? I just don't get why we're now doing that. I guess it's better than nothing, but does it mean that we're going to develop more? Does it mean there's more development, more roads, more cars on the road, more housing needed? You know, what's got us here is the kick the can down the road politicians, the developers, the chambers, everybody, greed, money, 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 nobody considering the environment, nobody considering the fact that we got one road and one bridge all the way to I-95. And Bluffton and Hardyville, they're doing the same thing. You got that leadership in Bluffton with Lisa Solka. She's a real estate agent. All we've had for mayors for the last 35, 40 years is lawyers, builders, developers. It's just been it's just been a disaster. You know, when I came here 47 years ago, I came here for the Charles Fraser vision of a low-density, high-end resort retirement community with the environment where we could eat the oysters, we could enjoy a clean environment. We destroyed that because we had a town manager, Steve Riley, and all these mayors and all these conflicts have ended us here. So I'd like to see that master plan, that Mid-Island master plan, and how much more development is going to be involved in that. Y'all got to wake up. We've destroyed this poor place. We can't go back, but we can certainly do something about it going forward.
Okay, is there anything else from the citizens? We'll bring it back to the dais. Any more comments from the dais? Alex? Christian, roll call.
Mr. Brown?
Support.
Mr. Harkins?
Yes.
Mr. Ames?
Yes.
Mr. Lennox?
Yes.
Mr. Stanford?
Yes.
Mayor McCann?
Yes.
Motion carries, sir.
Thank you. Consideration of resolution of the town of Hilton and approving the Mid-Island District Plan.
Move for approval.
Second.
Discussion by members of the council. Discussion by members of the community. Having seen or heard none, back to the council. For any more discussion? Alex? Okay. Christian, do the roll call.
Mr. Brown?
Support.
Mr. Harkins?
Yes.
Mr. Ames?
Yes.
Mr. Lennox?
Yes.
Mr. Stanford?
Yes.
Mayor McCann?
Yes.
Motion carries, sir.
Okay. Yep. Okay, now we have possible action taking the town council concerning matters discussed in executive session. Mr.
I'm
Wilkins, is
sorry,
there-
did you skip the consent agenda number 11? I don't remember us doing that. You got the, with the old schoolhouse
We
property?
did, sir.
Yeah, we did.
We
I
did.
don't ever remember.
Oh, I'm sorry, sir.
You did that right.
Reading, I didn't remember.
Yep, we did,
seeing
sir.
that. Okay, so I never saw that.
Okay, Bill?
Yes, Mr. Mayor. We have two motions before us emanating from our recent executive session. I'll deal with them one by one. First motion is to appoint Tony Alfieri to the Regional Housing Trust Oversight Board for a 2-year term ending November 1, 2024.
Second.
Discussed by members of the council. All in favor, call the roll.
Mr. Brown?
Support.
Mr. Harkins?
Yes.
Mr. Ames?
Yes.
Mr. Lennox?
Yes.
Mr. Stanford?
Yes.
Mayor McCann?
Yes.
Motion carries, sir.
And Mr. Mayor, the second motion is to approve the resolution by the Hilton Head Island Town Council authorizing the mayor to execute a contract extension with Curtis L. Coltrane as town attorney to align with the current fiscal year ending June 30th, 2023.
Second.
Discussion by members of the council. Discussion by members of the community. Not that much coming up. Having seen no discussion, Krista, call the roll.
Mr. Brown?
Support.
Mr. Harkins?
Yes.
Mr. Ames?
Yes.
Mr. Lennox?
Yes.
Mr. Stanford?
Yes.
Mayor McCann?
Yes.
Motion carries, sir.
I have a motion for adjournment.
Moved.
Second.
All in favor? Thank you.